Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests. I'm delighted to be your moderator for this afternoon session. My name is Faisal Abbas. I'm the editor-in-chief of Arab News, the region's leading English language newspaper based here in Riyadh. This is my 8th FII, and it's been quite a journey, an exciting journey to see this event grow to what it has become today. And just by the mere fact that we can have a discussion with the distinguished panel that I'm about to introduce is a testimony to where this event has reached. Without further ado, I will introduce our panelists in order of the way they are sitting next to me. So I have the distinct honor to present our first speaker for today, Sir Ben Elliot, who is the founder of Quintessentially and Hawthorn Advisors. Sir Ben, if you can join us on stage, thank you very much. And followed by Frederic Court, who is the managing partner at Felix Capital Partners. Frederic, welcome to Saudi, please. And Faraz Khalid, the CEO of NoonGrant. Grant LaFontaine, who is the co-founder and CEO of WhatNot. And last but certainly not least, Brent Montgomery, founder and CEO of Wheelhouse, who just landed in Riyadh this morning. Welcome to Saudi Arabia. Sir Ben, let me start with you immediately. Our session is discussing an important topic that touches everybody's lives. We are currently at a crosspoints in our lives, both as people, as consumers, as investors, between the comfort and convenience that technology and artificial intelligence and the luxury or the enjoyment of the human touch. Now, as somebody who runs what I would like to call the world's most renowned luxury concierge service, surely there's nobody else in the world that knows the importance of a personal touch more than you. So the question is, do you see AI as a threat or an opportunity to what you do?
Faisal, I'd love you to be on commission, actually, for being so kind and generous, and you're a great man. I mean, all of us on a daily basis are experiencing the power of AI and what it can do, not just for us, but for our families and our businesses. I came home the other night, and my son, who's dyslexic, my wife had created a program that made him feel excited about learning in a way that he hadn't before. In regards to what we do, and I'm involved in a number of different businesses, I can see that we have been for some time at a crossroads. But I personally think, and most of the businesses I'm involved with are to do with very high-touch personal service and long-standing, important relationships. And artificial intelligence cannot replicate that. They can't. But what it can do is enhance the way that people are more productive. So quintessentially, we have about 1,000 individuals who interact, they're kind of member assistants. Their work is made easier and better, particularly on the research side. But in the end, individuals, particularly demanding high net worth individuals, demand a lot more. And they want to know time and time again that you have real expertise and real experience yourself. So I think it enhances in a brilliant way, but I don't think it should replicate.
You know, and it's impossible to do the sort of thing that your team does, which is a client says, I know the restaurant doesn't have any reservations, but I need you to use your connections to make it happen. I mean, artificial intelligence probably will tell you yes or no, but they wouldn't go the extra mile, would it?
Well, I would agree with you, and I would love you to become a member this afternoon, but you're absolutely right. What it can do, and I'm sure you tried it yourself, and is it can edit things in a good way, but if it's about a relationship you have, they cannot today replace that human interaction and relationship.
Right. I want to go to Frederic, who is the managing partner of Felix Capital Partners. And I would like to ask you the same question. I'm going to go into a bit more details, but I would like a broad answer from you, and I'll probably ask all the distinguished guests on our panel the same thing. Where are we? I mean, we've all experienced it, the need for it during the pandemic, for example, when there was no alternative. All the malls were shut down, you couldn't go to a restaurant, so your only way was going to one of the many websites that you've all created and order online, and that was the closest experience. The pandemic is over. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's not going to happen again anytime soon. But where are we on this intersection between the personal touch that Ben has talked about and the convenience or comfort of having everything at the touch of a button?
So this is something we discussed quite a lot around the table at Felix Capital, because when we launched almost 10 years ago, it was 9 years ago, at the heart of our vision was finding entrepreneurs that would enable a more digital lifestyle. And so you fast forward 10 years later, and COVID was an amazing accelerator for this. We have all embraced that life where technology is part of our daily rituals, whether at home or at work and in every and in between. So technology is there. What we are doing today is embracing a more hybrid lifestyle. That's why we always, when we look at investing in consumer brands in particular, we are not really focused on the channel. We are more focused on the product, whether it's a physical product, it's a service, it's content, or even an experience. We're more focused on the product than the delivery mechanism. And I think today people will, if they desire something, they might decide to go in a store to pick it up, or they might just go through a digital channel, and we have here entrepreneurs who are managing some of those channels. But if you go in a store, you need to have an experience that's really worth it. So I think what's kind of dead is the boring retail experience where you just have shelves with products. You don't really need this, because for convenience, you go on Noon, you order something and get someone to deliver on it, deliver home. So if you go to a more physical experience, it's got to have something that a digital experience cannot deliver, like the personal touch, for instance.
I mean, I want to challenge you on that, because one of the businesses that you've invested in is Farfetch. And it's a unique case, actually, because, and I could take the opinion of the ladies with us here, or even the gentlemen in the audience. There is nothing that's quite like going to the store and trying on a suit if you're a gentleman, or a dress, or a pair of heels if you're a lady. Yet somehow you manage to make it work, minus that satisfaction of trying it on, making sure it's right. I'm quite curious about the equation. By the way, I know a lot of people who cheat. I know a lot of people who go try it in the store but then end up ordering it on Farfetch. Is that a common trait?
It's, again, I think the channel isn't really the main, in the case of Farfetch, where they were really good at. So I was the first investor in 2010 when it was a 10-people startup, and I left the board in 2019 when it was public, so it was almost 10 years. And what they were really good at is connecting a consumer that had a desire for an amazing product. And that product could be on a shelf in Lake Como in Los Angeles or in Paris, but they made that transaction very smooth. So that's a very specific need, and in that case, it was really the desire for the product. There was no point going on Farfetch for something you could find on the shelf, unless you don't have that store in your hometown. If you're in London, you go to Bond Street, and all of those stores are on both sides of Bond Street, or you go to Selfridges of Harrods. But if you live in Birmingham or Leeds or Cardiff, you don't have the same inventory. So you will have to rely on digital connection. What is interesting with Farfetch is that beautiful handbag could sit on a shelf in Bond Street for someone to come in the store and pick it up. But at the same time, it could be on Farfetch and for someone in Cardiff to buy it and access the product. So we see that the physical inventory can be connected through digital means to consumers all around the world in a smooth way, which is what this platform enables.
Absolutely. Frederic, hang on, I'm going to come back to you, but let me move to Faraz, who is the CEO of Noon. It's a quite different dynamic with Noon, isn't it, really? I mean, it's almost how I can hardly imagine a world where Noon and its likes didn't exist. Imagine a world where you can't order, if you're in an emergency and you need a product delivered ASAP, you have to wait until the shop opens. So it's quite a different paradigm, I think. But, you know, I don't know, just let me be the devil's advocate. Is there a chance we might see a Noon physical store at some point?
It's fascinating, actually. You know, at the end, we build everything in service of convenience. And I think what's happening is that, you know, when we started e-commerce, getting something in 3 days was good. Then next day became sort of the table stakes. And more recently, we see this evolution where people are getting, well, I guess like the expectations are rising and people want things very, very quickly. We have a new service called Minutes, which has become much larger than our core service, frankly. And the median delivery time is about 11 minutes. So from the time you order to when we bring it to your door, it takes us 11 minutes. In about 80 to 90% of the urban target sort of catchment areas in our cities. What you see is that, you know, sometimes, yes, it makes sense to kind of experience the product in its most natural habitat in a store, in a beautiful boutique where the expert kind of walks you through the item. But if you're ordering milk, you know, walking to a grocery store in 50 degrees heat is not a pleasurable experience. Sometimes we think, you know, building services that are relevant is important. Sometimes I feel like building a great store in which you can experience like a, I don't know, like a Loro Piana jacket is probably a good idea. But if you have to go buy ice cream in sort of like soaring heat, the joy of ice cream goes away. So as a builder of these services, I guess the design principle is get as close to the customer, and the form factor of your services needs to be relevant. So yeah, I do think hybrid stores are a reality. We're building a few in Dubai where you can walk your son to a store and pick up the ice cream, but most cases, just order it home and it'll be there in 10 minutes. I think we're sort of like heading in that direction. How fast, I don't know, but I really do think that when we think about these services, you've got to think from the customer's lens and do what's most convenient.
Heading in that direction or thinking about heading in that direction? Is it definitely going in that direction?
No, we're piloting a store in Dubai right now. Yeah.
All right. So just allow me to just introduce Noon for those of you who are coming from outside. Noon is the fantastic equivalent of Amazon in the region. I'm going to leave it to you to tell us how the two compare and whether you have plans to expand beyond the region.
No, we're huge fans of Amazon, but we're the homegrown e-commerce platform. We do everything from more traditional 1P, 3P shopping, so a little bit like Amazon, but we branched out. We do food delivery, we do quick commerce, so through dark stores, we do a... Yeah.
I think they might be needing some
delivery. Yeah, they might need some stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's a big market and we try to serve as best we can, and I think we're the homegrown player. We were born here and we look to serve in a very local, relevant way.
Some more Amazon, some Noon orders coming here.
Hopefully not Amazon, yeah. But, yeah.
But so expansion plans?
We serve customers in UAE, Saudi, and Egypt, and through Namshi, which is a company that we acquired, we do serve customers across the GCC. It's a big market. We have a lot of work to do, and I think right now we're just very focused on serving customers here.
But that's already a big market. We're talking about 150 million people almost, right? Between Saudi, Egypt, and UAE. That's quite huge. So. Congratulations on all the work you've done. It's actually, is it still considered a startup? Or?
It is still a startup.
Startup. I want to go to another startup, which is since yesterday I think is going to cost me a lot of money since I discovered it. Grant, who is the co-founder and CEO of Whatnot. First I have to say, what a brilliant idea. I went on the website and I couldn't stop scrolling, and I probably after the session I'm going to go to my selected items and choose. You've solved a problem for a lot of people who look for these collectibles. So if you're not familiar with Whatnot, you used to travel halfway around the world to, say, the United States or Japan to get a piece of collectible. There's a shop now online where you can find things that you probably can't find in any other store. But of course, I want to ask you about the challenges of that because, for example, the memorabilia or collectible stores that I used to go in the United States, I know because it has 20 years of reputation. I know everything comes with a certificate of authenticity over there, and sort of the store with history builds a reputation. So how do you, as a startup, you know, I might be, excuse my ignorance, but I haven't checked it out before yesterday. How do you compete with that sort of seal of approval that physical competitors might have had a few years ago?
Yeah. So I think the best way to think about Whatnot is we're sort of bringing that in-person retail experience online. So if you were to open up the Whatnot app, you'd see a feed of recommendations for you, and you'll be able to tap into a live show where someone will show you all of their goods. In a lot of cases, those are actually physical brick and mortar shops. And what Whatnot enables them to do is if you're a shop in San Francisco, you can only have people visit you who are in San Francisco. And whereas Whatnot, you can reach anyone around the world. And you can go in, you can talk to the shop owner, you can talk to the people in the shop, you can ask them to see the items. And so just to give you an example, I'll maybe give you two examples. One, we have a coin shop in San Francisco called Witter Coin that's been around for 70 years. Their Whatnot kind of shop now does about $5 million a year worth of sales, which surpasses their brick and mortar shop because they can reach anyone around the world. And they have a reputation. They've been in the industry for 60 years. You go into their shop, you can get to know them, they can give you the story behind everything, they can show you that it's authentic. Another category that's doing quite well for us is fashion. We have a sneaker shop in LA, they're called Cool Kicks. They started on Whatnot about 4 or 5 months ago. Their sales are already set to surpass their 3 brick and mortar locations. And it is because of, I think the last 20 years of e-commerce has been about making it convenient, making it efficient. And I think, the next 10 or 20 years is probably going to be about bringing the remaining elements, making it about an experience, making it so you can trust the person, making it so you can discover. And so I think it's that in-person connection, being able to talk, being able to see that sort of solves for the trust and the authenticity.
I'm curious, do you get a lot of clients from the Middle East region?
We definitely have clients from all around the world. And we're launching globally now. So I think in the past few months, we've launched in Australia, Netherlands, Austria, Belgium, and we're excited to continue to go where our consumers want us to go.
Since Ben said that I'm going to be on commission, I would like to be on commission as well with you and urge you to open in the region because from what I've seen, I think you will have a tremendous market in Saudi Arabia and across the region. I want to move the conversation to Brent. And I've been, again, last but not least, but I've been waiting to ask this question because Brent, among us, you are the guru when it comes to entertainment, live events. And in my mind, that is an industry or a sector where artificial intelligence, where technology can never, at least in my opinion, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but there is nothing that equates the excitement you get when you go to a football stadium and watch a match live, or when you see Taylor Swift or your favorite rock star in live in concert, and you can almost touch them, and it's almost like a religious experience. Some people say the future is in holograms. Some people say the future is in much more advanced reality television. Where are we on that argument, do you think?
I think, excuse me, I think people still want shared experiences. So when you go to those events, you go with other people, you experience it with other people, and those experiences are being heightened as well. If you go to a sporting event or a concert now, they're just all competing with these experiences that you might be able to get at home. So the audio can be personalized at the Sphere in Las Vegas in a way that it wasn't being before. I think very similarly on the content side, the same algorithms that are serving the Whatnot customer are serving a YouTube viewer or a TikTok viewer. So they really have a personalized experience that's getting more and more really right on for what they want to see. Obviously, with AR and VR, there's probably ways to make it more personalized, but I'm not sure that's usually the experience people are wanting. Because of Instagram, people want to be able to say they were there, take the photo, flex, if you will.
No, I fully agree. And one of the interesting terms I've heard the other day about Instagram is there are now two categories of restaurants: fine dining and fun dining. So fine dining is for people that actually want to go eat, but fun dining is for people who want to take photos. So I fully agree with you. Look, there's a few more questions, but as we're a Saudi newspaper and we are living here in Saudi Arabia, I have to ask you, given the boom that we are seeing in the entertainment industry, we're actually now in the midst of the Riyadh season, the biggest ever so far. We are seeing unimaginable boxing matches being organized, tennis championships, concerts, etc. I wanted to ask you what sort of future do you predict for the kingdom, and what role does a company like yours play in what's developing now as a new reality in Saudi Arabia?
When we saw the signs at the airport, we almost veered to the tennis. No, I think the region is so serious about content, and we went by the digital center. I think, we've seen, because of Netflix and these other global platforms, you've seen creators, whether they be in front of the camera or behind the camera, making content that goes global. It used to be when many of us TV producers would make a show in one region, it would take 2 or 3 years to hit other regions. And now these programs hit immediately, and I think people want to see other voices. And the beauty in my business, which is mostly non-scripted, I think there's a lot of opportunity to show and experience this region in nonfiction. Obviously, there's been a lot of great scripted content.
Ben, same question to you regarding Quintessentially in particular. With everything opening up in terms of the restaurants, in terms of ultra-high wealth individuals, international superstar football players moving to the kingdom, the people in the kingdom who used to travel abroad, say to London to experience something, but now for the first time they're able to experience in the kingdom. Surely this might be an opportunity for Quintessentially to expand more into the kingdom.
Well, it's not just for Quintessentially. It's for, you've seen an avalanche in the last 5 years of opportunities for people not just in Saudi, but people traveling to Saudi. I mean, you last week alone, I don't know if any of you have seen any of the content that came from it, opened Sindala. And I know what's happening in the kind of macro region, but that, if we're sitting here, God willing, in 3 years' time, will be an extraordinary kind of holiday destination for all manner of people, not just people from Saudi. And what you've seen, I see it in London, is whilst in the hotter months, people historically would only travel to Europe. That is now changing because, we're less than a mile away from Via Riyadh, which has some of the world's kind of greatest gastronomic restaurants just down the road. The rate of change for people who are coming to travel here, but also people who live here, is amazing. The Tyson Fury fight, which I think happens in December, or just before Christmas, off the back of what was put on by Seller, a PIF company in London 3 weeks ago, that is the cutting edge in terms of the way that people are producing stuff. And if you haven't, and I'm been to Alula, which I'm going to take my children to at the beginning of next year, it's amazing. But we wouldn't have any of these conversations 3 or 4 years ago. None of it was opened up. So I think everything is changing very fast. The key thing is to make sure that everything is done fastidiously well and not to rush some of those things.
Absolutely, and I do think this is where professional services such as yours and all of you gentlemen come into place. Frederic, let me go to you. We were talking about Farfetch. which has done remarkably well in the region. I wanted to ask you from an investor's point of view, do you see any startups in the region who are covering that space or a similar space that can really do that elegant dance between the personal touch and the convenience that vice versa could be exported from the region abroad? Is there anything of the sort on your radar?
So I'm sure there is, although we're not really focused at this point investing in the region, but I'll give you a parallel. So I'm French, as you can hear, based in London. In the past 20 years, we've seen the European ecosystem of startups, tech, venture capital really blossom, very much following the model of what we had seen in the US, where it really all started on the West Coast. Even the US has changed a lot because it all started in Silicon Valley and then has blossomed all across the US. We've seen this transformed in Europe, where you see concept, Farfetch is one, but also you have Spotify, many other companies that have become global leaders. So I've got no doubt that in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, there will be new concepts that emerge from here that will be based on the talent, on the access to capital, and on the ubiquitous connectivity and access to technology, but really starting from the creativity of the region that will be able to export. It's probably going to take some time. At this point, look at Noon, and it's a remarkable size and scale, 50,000 people, that's so impressive. The local demand is a big opportunity to go after, and that's quite natural for local players to focus on that, just like what we've seen in Europe. So I think this is going to take some time, and you look at the blossoming of the European ecosystem in tech, that's a great illustration of this possibility.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that insight. Faraz, I want to go to some of the points that are part of the session. All the talk about purpose-driven brands. Now, some people take it very seriously. Some people take it with a pinch of salt. I'll tell you my personal opinion, and I would love to hear yours. The economist Milton Friedman wrote a famous New York Times article quite a while ago and says the sole purpose of a company, if it wants to contribute to corporate social responsibility, it has to make profit. That's all we want from it, because when you're making profit, you're employing more people, people are paying taxes, you're helping the whole country move. None of this nonsense about everything else. Of course, that's one view. Yeah. The other view is, no, that's very selfish. You can't be thinking that way because that will have environmental, social repercussions, etc. Where do you see the right argument stands?
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on others, but I'll tell you a little bit about ourselves. We get out of bed every day fighting some of the scariest companies in the history of capitalism because we want to build a homegrown champion. The purpose of our company is to give hope to that little kid who's going to grow up and go to college and then hopefully start a company, work at something that you want hope that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. And you can just very easily go to the App Store and download something that was built somewhere else and it'll add very little value to the local economy. So our purpose is to build something locally that we can all be proud of, and sort of like a mouthful, but we've sort of resolved it to a pretty crisp mission statement, which is to bring convenience and pride to every doorbell every day. And I think it's very hard to build things over a very long period of time if you don't have a real solid purpose or intrinsic sort of source of motivation that's driving you. Otherwise, you just become a mercenary company, and most mercenary companies eventually die. So, I mean, I can't comment on others, but I really feel like if you have something that means something to the world, then you'll most likely net add value. And I think it's sort of articulating a sense of purpose and sort of a grounding in a mission is very important, because then you also attract missionaries, you attract people who want to build for the long term with you, and hopefully that sort of act to society in a way that is sort of constructive and has second, third order effects beyond than just profit, I guess.
Grant, I'm curious about your views. Do you agree with Faraz? Do you agree with Milton Friedman? Do you think the role of company is solely to make a profit? When companies make claims that they are there for the greater good, do consumers necessarily believe them?
Well, so in order to create a really great company, you have to deliver an immense amount of value for someone. And I sort of think that, we have our mission, and I think any great company has to, and it revolves around where we're going to deliver an immense amount of value for people. So our mission is we help people turn their passions into a business, and we bring people together through commerce. And every day we make sure everything ladders up to that. Now, you can't be a business and solve every problem in the world. You have to be very specific with where you're adding value and what problem you're going to solve. But if you don't have that, it's hard to get a large group of people to be focused and deliver an immense amount of value and be excited about delivering an immense amount of value, because the essence of a business is it creates value for a set of people and it extracts a small amount to run its business and generate profits and gives back more of it. And if that's not true, no business can exist. And so I think so I'm sort of like in between, but I think in practice, if you don't have a mission, you can't align a group of people around the customer value that they're going to create. And if you're not creating immense customer value, your business will not exist.
Well, on that note, I would hate to say that time flies when you're having a good time, or when you have 5 fantastic speakers. I think we managed to cover quite a lot in just half an hour. I'm sorry we couldn't get time for questions from the audience, but all our speakers are hopefully around. You can walk up to them and ask them questions, or follow-up questions that I might have missed. But on your behalf, I would like to thank you all for what has been a very insightful session, and welcome you again to Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much.